Here's my play of the day from round 6 of the Tal Memorial Tournament. Going into this round, Alexander Morozevich was leading the tournament by a clear point, so if he could win this game, he would really set himself up to possibly win the tournament. Now, he was playing against Hikaru Nakamura. Morozevich has the white pieces here, and Morozevich has gone out with all guns blazing. You can see his pieces are very, very active indeed, and he has an open file against Black's king. That's crucial. And now he played knight e4, throwing another piece into the attack. Now White's position just looks massive here. There is a very simple plan of just advancing that pawn and breaking Black's king open. Very nasty position for Black to defend, but Nakamura did very well here. He spotted his only chance. He played knight c5. So after the knight exchange, which is what Morozevich did, he then recaptured with the b pawn, anti-positional of course. Looks horrible to shatter the pawns, but it does open that file, and that's crucial. Nakamura is desperate to find counterplay here. So with hindsight, it might have been better for Morozevich to play knight g5. Now in this case you can see that Black's rooks simply don't have a decent open file. The d file is covered by the bishop, and what else can they do? So this is still a problematic situation for Black, and there is still a very clear threat to advance the h-pawn. And how do you trade pieces? You could try h6, hoping the knight moves back, and then you can trade queens, and that's not so bad for Black. But after h6, h4 I think is the correct move. And after pawn takes knight, queen takes, that avoids the exchange of queens, and now White is breaking through. Well, let me just continue this position. So a check, and then rook f7, and after queen takes, well, at least Black hangs on here because you're threatening an exchange of queens. But after the queen just nudges back to g5, I think White has a tremendous position here, a really, really strong attack. So g7 is threatened. If the queen comes back, then you can start advancing the h-pawn. I think in practical terms, I think Black is probably lost in this position. It's very difficult to defend. But Morozevich took on c5, and after this things were not so clear. Okay, he rushed to open the g file, but Nakamura defended so coolly here. Now maybe he could have gone onto the attack straight away with rook b8, but he chose rook f7, which I think is also pretty good. And after h5, simply rook d7. Now he was very, very anxious to make sure that this rook came into the game. Now the point is that after h takes g6, he keeps everything closed on the king side with this move, so an incredible decision. And remarkably, White can't make any further progress on the king side. That knight does a brilliant job of protecting key squares in the position on the king side. Okay, Morozevich took on d7 and played queen f3. There's not a lot he can do now. If you try to attack with rook h1, threatening rook takes h6, then Black's counterattack comes very swiftly indeed. Here rook b8 for example, and if rook takes h6, well, that simply loses immediately to queen b3 check and takes on b2. So White has to fall back onto the defensive. So queen f3 played, rook b8, and now you can see how the initiative swings over. Rook d1 played, queen back. Okay, Black has to play modestly for a moment. Now rook d2, and now c4, and Black's pressure is beginning to build. King a2. Okay, that's sensible, getting the king out of the b file. Okay, Morozevich continues his attack. and now, Nakamura continues his attack, and now Morozevich cracked. Short of time, he played Queen D1, which on the surface of it looks quite sensible because he wants to tie Black's pieces to the back rank. There's always the potential to play Rook D8. But this allows C3, opening up the B file, and now I think Black is just winning. Morozevich should have just waited. But of course waiting is always difficult. You never know whether your opponents can crack your defensive position, but it appears not. It appears as though White is still alright here. So, Black has plenty of moves to try to improve his position, but when it comes to the crucial moment, here it looks very threatening indeed. You want to bring the knight over, Black's pieces look active. White can still play Queen H3, attacking H6, well, keeping an eye on E6 as well, and Black just has to retreat, and there's nothing doing. White is strong enough here, so Black I don't think can make any progress. Should be a draw. But Queen D1 was a big mistake. C3, the B file is open, and now the knight flies in. Threat, knight takes C3, of course. So Queen D3. Oh, there's a nice variation here. Instead of Queen D3, if Queen C4, you can play Queen A4, and that forces a checkmate. A classic checkmating position. Okay, Queen D3, and now A4. Very cool move indeed. Just preparing to play Rook B3 with threat here and potential to play Queen F8 and take on A3. So Morozevich played Rook B2, but after this, I'm afraid it's absolutely hopeless. The Queen just comes in, and White doesn't have time to set up some counter-attack on H6 or on the 8th rank. Well, Morozevich tried, but now, as we've seen before in this tournament, the combination of Queen and Knight are a really potent attacking force, and here Nakamura just had to exchange queens, and in this position Morozevich resigned. This is such a simple endgame. White has to take care of this pawn, but also this one is en prise. If White defends, then we take another one, and we take here. That's 3 pawns, and that is just too much. So an excellent game by Nakamura, beautiful counter-attacking game, and I can't think of a better game that illustrates the importance of open files when you're attacking, and the initiative, of course. So Morozevich is still leading on 4 points in the tournament, but Kramnik has joined him on 4 points after his win in round 6. But just a half point behind are Caruana, Radyabov and Magnus Carlsen. Now, he always finishes well in tournaments, so with 3 rounds to go, the Tal Memorial is still wide open.